Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Marriage Matters.
Marriage Matters.
This is a show where we talk about
marriage matters
because
marriage matters.
So that's what we're all about. This show, we just want to come to you each week and bring you some tips and tricks, insights. Maybe tricks is not a good word, but anyway, just to help you thrive in marriage. That's what we're all about. Yeah. We're all about having marriages that are thriving, not just surviving, but thriving.
Yes.
And just producing, and whether that's in every area of your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So how's things going in your world?
Things are going well.
Well, I guess your world is my world, huh?
Yes, we share that world, but things are going pretty great.
Okay, good. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. So today, we always like to bring something to you that we call it recommendations.
Yes.
Recommend
things
things
that we utilize in our own marriage and our own life that are beneficial, helpful for us.
So today what we're recommending is Marriage Today.
Marriage Today.
And the website is marriagetoday.com. Mm-hmm. And this is the website of Jimmy and Karen Evans. Jimmy and Karen Evans, I would say, when it comes to marriage, coaching,
marriage ministry,
all of that, I would say that they are the gurus. Yeah. So shout out to Jimmy and Karen Evans. We've attended one of their conferences before, and we loved it so much that we registered for the next year at that conference. Yep. So it's the XO conference, but we love Jimmy and Karen Evans.
Yeah,
and
I've been watching them on television for years. I think I was watching the Marriage Today show before I even got married. They have been that prominent on the forefront for years and years.
So we just want to recommend that. You can go to that website, marriagetoday.com. There's so many. They have a ton of resources available.
Excuse me.
And I would just encourage you to take advantage of those. We believe in, in marriage, like we always say, enhancement, marriage maintenance. I always say this. It's amazing to me how, we do maintenance on everything. We do maintenance on our homes. We do maintenance on our cars. We do maintenance on our bodies, right? We go to the gym. Well, we're and by the way, we are making an effort. We started June 1st.
Yes.
And we're saying, you know what? We're going to do this fitness thing.
We're going to fine-tune these
bodies.
So
we've been on this journey. So maybe we'll do a show about that, and maybe you guys can be a part of our accountability.
Yes.
Because we believe in accountability.
Yes, that's cool.
Anyway, we do maintenance on all these things, but with marriage, we just kind of, we think that it's like set it and forget it.
Right.
You've got to work on your marriage.
You got to.
No matter how great it is, you've got to work on it, because I'm telling you, if it's great and you don't do the work, that's just like in your body. If you get in optimal health. I remember when I was in high school, I was in pretty good shape. I played basketball, I ran track, I played tennis.
I seen pictures.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I was a little, had a little something going on there. But when I got out of high school and I got to college, I played basketball every now and again. And, I wasn't as active.
Right.
And this is the result of,
you say that like 20, you look so bad, but do not. You look
I know,
good,
but I'm saying I'm not in the shape that I was in high school.
Right.
If I would have continued that same lifestyle, after high school, then I would still be in that same shape.
I get it.
You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so, and I don't want to get into all that, but anyway, you've got to do maintenance on your marriage. And
Absolutely.
Marriage Today, Jimmy and Karen Evans has a ton of resources that you can use. A lot of
wisdom.
Yeah. So go check that site out. They even have an on-demand streaming service.
Yes.
I forgot what it's called, but you'll see it's on the site. So anyway, so that's our recommendation today. And it's Marriage Today, marriagetoday.com, Jimmy and Karen Evans. All right?
Go check it out.
Go check it out. So today's topic, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about divorce-proofing your marriage. And it is one of those subjects that keeps coming up again and again. A lot of couples struggling, couples of all ages, races, faith backgrounds, just all over the place. Couples,
economic
statuses. People are struggling within their marriage, and that is one of the areas that we know that God placed on our hearts, which is why we began to do these shows and to talk about marriage matters, because people need help, and so that's why we're here.
So do you think it's possible to actually divorce-proof your marriage?
I really believe that it's possible to divorce-proof your marriage. I do. Mm-hmm.
All right. So what we're going to do is going to give you, I think it's two tips?
Yes.
Yeah, two
Only
tips. Mm-hmm. So it's not even a lot. So I know you're thinking, oh my God, it's going to be so much. It's not, look guys, I always say this. Marriage is not hard.
Yep.
People will tell you that, they'll paint this picture, oh, marriage is so hard, and, stay single as long as you can, and all of this stuff. But marriage is not hard. Mm-mm. Marriage takes work.
It is work.
It's just like anything else. If you work at it, the more you work at it, the better you become at it. So you've got to work on it.
Yep.
So, so one thing, the first thing I want to talk about, I want to start this off talking about, we make this statement, and we say this a lot. You hear this a lot, especially in church. And I think it's even become like more of a cliche than than really putting the thought behind it.
Sure.
And we say this statement that divorce is not an option. How many of you heard that before?
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Divorce is not an option.
Probably said it before.
Yeah. Yeah. So divorce is not, and we say it. But I was listening to a podcast the other day, and the person in this podcast was saying that is not a true statement, that divorce is an option.
Right.
And I understand what they were saying. And so I think part of what I want to do here is really go into depth when we say divorce is not an option, what we mean by that. And because, her family experienced, her parents experienced a divorce, believers
right.
in the word,
right. It looks like
Christian,
they had all of the things in place.
Right. And they had a divorce, and they had an experienced divorce, right? So she was saying that she was saying that divorce is an option, and I understand what she was saying. But what we're trying to say when we say divorce is not an option, what we're saying is divorce is not an option for us.
Correct.
And let me explain that. We're not saying that divorce is not available.
Right.
Because divorce is always available.
It's always available.
But what we do in our marriage is we say that's not an option for us. In other words, we heard it was Montel Jordan and his wife at the EXO conference.
Yeah, EXO conference.
I can't remember his wife's name.
Forgive me, I don't remember.
I'm sorry, Miss Jordan.
Yes, Mrs. Jordan. She's gorgeous too.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But anyway, Montel Jordan, they were saying the way they explained it was you take divorce off the table.
Correct.
In other words, don't let that be an option, because if you always have divorce as an option, then you will choose it.
Right. Eventually,
this may not be a good example, but I like the movie. I think it was Apollo 13. Tom Hanks was about the Apollo mission,
right?
And the one that exploded, and they had to figure out how to get back home and all that. Well, there's a scene in there where they're doing the prep to come back home, and Tom Hanks's character asked, I think it was Kevin Bacon's character, and Kevin Bacon's character had put a piece of tape over this button, and if the button was it would eject the part of the ship that Tom Hanks and the other guy was in.
Okay.
And so he put a piece of red tape over it and said, "Do not press." And so Tom Hanks looked at that. He was like, "What's this about?" He's like, I didn't want to get jittery,
right,
and make a mistake and press this button,
right.
So Tom Hanks was like, good idea. So that's what we're saying with divorce.
Yeah.
We're saying we're taking that off the table,
right.
And what that does is it forces you to come back to the table,
right,
and work through the stuff,
work through your things,
and not say, it's not worth it. Let's just get a divorce.
Right.
Because working through the issues, working through the problems, working through the hardships, the challenges, working through all of that stuff is a lot harder than just saying, let's just get a divorce.
Right. And what that does is when you have to come back to the table. You choose to come back to the table, let me say that, and you're choosing to sit and to work through your challenges, you are actually refining yourself. Mm-hmm. You know, you're going through a refinement process. And once you've gone through that refinement process, just like with jewelry, I mean, you're better, you're mm-hmm. worth more. You know, the marriage is more valuable because you've gone through a refining process.
Yeah. So that's what we're saying. When we say divorce is not an option, that's what we mean. We're putting a sticker over mm-hmm. it. And, you know, people always say, you know, well, you know, God allows divorce. And if you really, the scripture I think is in Matthew chapter 9, I think it's it, mm-hmm. where he says, you know, that the only reason that a person should enter into divorce is due to adultery.
Right.
But if you really read that scripture in its entirety, mm-hmm. really what he says is he's allowed it because of the hardness of men's heart. Correct. So divorce really at the end of the day, it's a heart issue. Mm-hmm. And we're not willing to really take a look at our heart. Right. I mean, even adultery, that's a heart issue.
That's a heart issue. Correct.
You know, and so just because God allows it doesn't mean that it's his best.
Correct.
There's a lot of things that God allows.
That he allows, right.
But that doesn't mean that it's his
right.
best.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do is give you 2 things that you can mm-hmm. do to divorce-proof your marriage. Yeah. And if you do these 2 things, now you have to do the work. Mm-hmm. Okay. And, you know, it's easy just to, like I said, just to brush things aside mm-hmm. or, you know, go for the divorce button. Mm-hmm. But if you do the work, just like with anything else, you know, we're making this health journey. If we right. do the work, right. if we work out, mm-hmm. then you will become healthier. Yeah. It's 1 + 1 = 1. Mm-hmm. There's no shortcuts. Mm-hmm. You know, you have to do the work. So with that being said, what's our first point? What's
the first point is realizing that I'm not perfect. So a lot of times when there are challenges within the marriage, within any relationship, we have the tendency to look at the other person's faults or their issues. What is bothering me about them? What mm-hmm. are they doing? What are they saying that's bothering me? Well, sure, those things happen. You know, they happen even with us. But what we have to realize is that I'm not perfect either. Mm-hmm. You know, that I do have my own challenges and my own struggles, and there are things about my personality. Not all of my behaviors and not all of my choices are always beneficial to the marriage. Yep. So I have to realize that, I just laugh at
the way I said that. Some people are going to be like, man, he said that pretty quick when you said all of my choices are not beneficial. Right. I was like, yep. No. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So we have to realize that we're not perfect either. Yeah. That, you know, we all need to be given some grace. We all have some things that we have to learn, some things that we have to unlearn, some things that we have to correct. Yeah. So the first tip or the first lesson is learning that I am not perfect either.
Yeah, because, you know, typically, you know, I get these phone calls a lot. And usually it's the husband who calls me. Mm-hmm. And they'll call and they'll say, like, she's doing this and she's mm-hmm. not doing this. Mm-hmm. And she and she mm-hmm. and she and she mm-hmm. and she. And if she would just, and if some man, why she got to talk to me that mm-hmm. way? And if she would, right. and you know, mm-hmm. and I let them get all that out.
Right.
And then ask them this one simple question. What are you doing?
Right.
What are you doing or what are you not doing? Mm-hmm. You know, and I know this is kind of corny, it's kind of cheesy, but, you know, there's the old saying, when you point the finger, mm-hmm. you've got, 3 fingers pointing back mm-hmm. at you, right? Mm-hmm. You know, so in other words, what Tanya's saying is understand that your spouse is not perfect, neither are you.
Correct.
And if they're doing things that are getting on your nerves or mm-hmm. irking you or chances are
they're making you mad, they're ticking you off.
Chances are you may be doing some of that. So I always say this. I cannot. Here's one thing, and this will go a long way in your marriage. Understanding this, I cannot change Tanya.
Correct.
And it's not my job to change Tanya. Mm-hmm. But I tell you what, I can change me. I can change me. And when you begin to work on you, you know, I heard that was Dave and Ashley Willis. They were saying, you know, you should, when you're going through issues in your marriage, you should draw a circle around yourself and work on everybody in that circle.
That's good.
So if you draw a circle around yourself, then
the only person in the circle is me.
And I'm telling you, if you would understand and realize that, you know, the classic example is Adam and Eve in the garden, right? When, you know, Eve took the bite of the apple or the fruit, whatever it was, and then Adam did, and then when God came, what's the first thing that Adam did? Was he said it's her fault?
Right. It was a woman.
He did not own up to his responsibility, and we do that. That's what we do in our marriages. We're always looking to pass the buck or blaming. You know, if she would have just did this, we'd still be together. Right. You know, and the other thing is hiding. So I had some notes here: blaming others for your insufficiencies. Right. So that's what Adam did. And then the other thing is hiding your insufficiencies. Right. So in other words, instead of me owning up and admitting, you know, that I have a struggle, that I'm struggling in this area, I hide it, and I never, and that takes a toll on the marriage, right?
I think sometimes people, especially in the faith arena, it's that I am believing God that, you know, I am gonna get over this, or I'm going to be delivered from this and healed from this, and that's perfect. Yes, you should do that, but in marriage, you have a partner, you have a support system, you have someone to help you walk through that process. So if you're not open and vulnerable to them, then you're creating some distance within the marriage. So while you are believing for your healing or deliverance, or, you know, whatever it is, then you need to join your faith with your spouse. Let that person be your prayer partner or whatever it is, and let them walk through that process with you. Don't try to hide it. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. So those are the two things, or that's the first thing is realizing that I'm not perfect. Realizing that if there's issues in the marriage, then I'll probably play a role in those issues. And you know, again, you know, you're thinking, well, no, it's all them. It's all them. It's all, if they would just, you know, they would just do what I say.
I know exactly what you were thinking about.
Like if he would just do what I say, or she would just do what I say, then we wouldn't have these issues. Yep. You know, so my thing is, well, maybe if you would learn to die to self a little bit. Yeah. Maybe if you would learn to acknowledge her feelings a little bit. Right. So understanding and knowing that you're not perfect. Okay. Number 2 is grow in your marriage and grow as an individual on all levels. So the first thing we want to talk about is growing in your marriage. You have to grow in your marriage. That's just what we were talking about opening up the show. You have to take the time to sit together and, you ready for this? You need to sit down together and talk. Oh my. And I'm saying that because you would be surprised how many people that are in marriages and they don't talk to each other. They talk about things. They talk about bills. They talk about the kids. They talk about what they got to do, where we're going on vacation. They talk about all these things, but they never really just sit down and talk to each other. They never talk vision with each other. They never talk plans and dreams, and they never talk about, you know, even the areas where, you know, Tanya and I do this. We'll sit down with each other and we'll tell each other.
We'll do check-ins.
Yeah, and we'll say, you know, I think you're doing great in this area, but here's some areas I think you can improve in, and here's what I think I'm doing great. Here's the areas I think that I need to improve in, and vice versa. Right. But we have those conversations. We talk to each other. We talk to each other about each other. Right. Not just about, because I'm telling you, we have 2 daughters, and if we let them, they can occupy our entire lives. They have
absolutely
so much stuff going on, and I always say I'm just a chauffeur. I bring Bethany and Bailey everywhere they got to go. Right. But we have to make time for each other. We have to grow together. And we have to grow individually. Right. We have to do the things. We have to take, you know, I'm you know, we talk about this all the time. We're podcast junkies. Yeah. And we don't listen to podcasts for entertainment, but podcasts are a great way to grow, for personal development, and in your marriage. But just listening to other people and getting tips, going to trainings, going to conferences, reading a book. Right. You know, and I will admit I'm not as probably an avid reader as I should be, but you know what is great? Audible.
Yeah.
Audible rocks.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
so if I'll get a book on Audible and I have about like a 25-minute drive to work, and going there and back in a week's time, a lot of times I'll read a book or listen to a book,
right?
And it just gives me so much information, or even while I'm at work, if you're at work, I'll put my headphones in. And I'll listen to it at work while I'm at my desk, just listening. But what am I doing? I'm growing myself.
Right.
I'm becoming a better person. Because here's the deal. My spouse deserves the best version of me. My spouse deserves the guy that God has intended. She doesn't deserve the flawed Glenn. She doesn't deserve the average, just getting by, just enough Glenn. She deserves the best Glenn. That's what I'm trying to give to her.
That's good. That's very good.
To you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm trying to give you the best version of me.
Yeah.
And what I was going to say is, in your process of growing in your marriage, if you need help, don't be afraid to get help. If you need counseling, set up, an appointment with a licensed professional counselor. Sit with, other Christian couples or other couples, who may have been in the marriage longer, maybe, an older couple. Man, how much wisdom can you gather from a couple that's been married 30, 40, 50, 60 years? Yeah. Reach out to us. We make ourselves available, to sit with you.
Everybody needs help.
Everybody needs help. Everybody don't just, try to figure it out on your own.
And we have that. And that's why we go to conferences. That's why we do read books together. That's why we do all these things. When we were at EXO, we had went live, and I was telling on the live from EXO, I was like, hey, we don't just talk about this stuff. We believe in this stuff. We actually do
it. Yeah.
Right. And the other thing I want to talk about, and we're kind of we're trying to stay in our time limit, but it's hard to do that. But talking about, like you said, a licensed therapy, man, look, if you need help, it just helps to just go and talk. And my wife is, I don't know, she's a licensed.
I'm a provisionally licensed professional counselor.
So she's on her way. But my point is, she helped free me from a lot of that, because, especially in the African American community, it's like, you're going to see a counselor.
Right.
That was kind of, and even in the faith community, in church, it's like, all you need is the word. You just,
it's almost an insult to your faith.
Yeah, you don't need well, no, sometimes it helps just have somebody, if it's nothing more than just to talk through some things.
Correct.
It's nothing wrong with that. Do that and grow.
Absolutely.
So those two things again. Number one, realize you are not perfect.
Yep.
I know you think you are. I know you think you don't. I know your mom told you growing up that you can do no wrong, but I hate to break this news to you, but you are not perfect, okay?
Amen.
You make mistakes. You do things and say things that you should not. So the same grace that you want, extend that same grace to your spouse.
Amen.
And number two, you have to grow. Your marriage has to grow. You have to grow in your marriage, and you have to grow as an individual.
And this just came to me that, you remember we have, kids and 12 and 14-year-old, and our youngest child, this is more recent to her, and she still experiences growing pains. I remember our oldest child experiencing it. I remember experiencing it, where you get just those pains in your legs, and they're kind of unexplainable.
You never had, you short.
I had them for a little while. I did have to grow.
You 5'2". You've been the same height since you was 13.
No, I haven't. Maybe I have. But, growing pains. And sometimes as individuals, as people, it hurts to change.
Yeah.
It hurts to grow and to relearn or unlearn some things that are not healthy for us today, and learn new things that can be a challenge. Yeah. But I guarantee you and your spouse and your marriage and your family, you are worth the growth.
And so those two things right there can be tools to help divorce-proof your marriage.
Absolutely.
I know you're thinking, that's simple. Why does it have to be hard?
Why does it have to be hard?
It doesn't have to be hard. If you understand that you're not perfect, and that people make mistakes, and then number two, if you grow, then it'll take divorce off the table for you.
That's right.
And well, let me say it this way: that you have to take divorce off so that's the third thing, I guess. in divorce proofing your marriage. Number 3, take it. Don't let that be an option. Say, you know what? No matter what, we're always gonna make a choice to come back and we're gonna talk it out. We're gonna work it out. We're gonna call somebody to help us process through this. You know,
we're going to choose us.
Exactly. Just like we said when we got married, for better, for worse, sickness, health, till death, rich, poor, death do us apart. We're gonna make it work.
That's right.
So even though it may be I don't want to say a possibility, divorce may be an option, or don't let it be an option for you.
That's right.
Don't let it be an option. Make a commitment to each other and remind each other. If somebody mentions divorce,
right?
Nope. You remember what we said? Right. We said we were always going to work it out. Oh, you know,
make it a bad word. The D word. It's a bad word.
So anyway, that's all we have for you today. So always we want to give you ways to reach out to us.
Yep.
You know, we do have an email address.
We do. We have an email address. I guess
Allie made fun of us for our email address. She's like, you know, but anyway,
that's so old school.
We old school then.
Yeah.
But anyway, info@marriagematterstous.com. You can ask questions. You can suggest show topics. Whatever you want to do.
If you want to get with us, if you and your spouse feel like you need to talk to someone,
place to reach out.
Definitely email us, inbox us, what have you.
And as always, any questions or show topics or anything will remain anonymous unless otherwise specified. And you can follow us on Facebook or Instagram at Marriage Matters 0526. At Marriage Matters 0526. Oh, did I give the email address? I don't think I did. I did. info@marriagematterstous.com. And also just remember to follow us on Facebook. Subscribe to on Facebook. I already said that. Subscribe to the YouTube page. Yes. I apologize. To the YouTube page. Subscribe. Yes. Share these videos. We appreciate the love.
Comments, y'all. We
leave
love
comments.
To read
love
your
to read
comments. Love to get the feedback.
And also, when you click on subscribe, make sure you click the little bell right next to subscribe to get an alert every time we post a video. So that's all we have. So remember, your marriage matters.